Have you ever had a birthday wish that would take a miracle to come true? Well, this is a story about those miracles. Our tale begins a few years ago now in the remote mountains of Pennsylvania, in a house my pop and Grammy built with their bare hands. My mom was pretty young when she gave birth to me, and I never knew much about my real dad as my mom had met my stepdad when I was 3. And though he loved me like a son and taught me lessons that will stay with me forever, somehow I never did forget how my own dad had given up on me so easily. It's something you don't think about much until you're a little older and making the hard choices with your own kids. I moved constantly as my family chased work where they could find it, making my way through 10 different schools in 9 years as the constant new kid, nearly skipping a few grades in the process, until thanks to that God-given gift, I landed in a Hogwarts-like boarding school. Now getting accepted there was the first major wish to come true in my life, and as my 4 years there would be the longest I'd ever been in one place, much like Harry Potter, it would simply become known as home. I went off to college and met my future wife freshman year, and after that Dominican tornado met this Italian volcano, sparks flew in every direction. I certainly got my second wish, and we had our son, Tommy, junior year, and we quickly finished up school to make ends meet. I went through 15 different jobs and 2 failed businesses the next 10 years, from fixing computers to stocking shelves to selling caskets, cremations, and baby pictures. Well, not together, of course. But finally, I found stable work in New York City where I would have a regular 3-hour train commute. But all the stability chasing in the world isn't what inspired this journey. You see, it's what happened with my son. Tommy was in the top percentiles for all his milestones until he was 2, and then he just disappeared. He lost all his language and toileting skills, started running on his toes, and his anxiety skyrocketed as he withdrew into his own little world. The doctors called it autism, but all I felt is that the son I knew left, and he didn't leave a calling card. Now I spent and borrowed thousands of dollars, traveling from state to state, talking to anyone who could help my boy. And as the years went by and life carried on, in those stillest hours I could still hear his words forming in the sounds of silence. From my work in the Autism Foundation my wife and I had started, I knew that there were multiple forms of autism, and every person on the spectrum had something to say. The question was, would I ever be able to understand what my son was speaking? So I decided to make a change, because if things were ever going to get better, I needed to do something radically different. My wife and I brainstormed a film about what autism is really like around America, and how unique it is for millions out there, including my son. We entered our idea into the Pepsi Refresh Project contest to win $50,000 to make the entire film you're about to see. And after 59 days of voting through social media, and tens of thousands of votes pouring in, we became the first autism organization in the nation to receive this grant and earned our right to share this with you. That day before I left, I once again made the same wish I had made every birthday for the last decade. Yet somehow, I felt that this cross-country journey would bring me the closest I've ever been to seeing it come true. Now, no one at the party or waiting for us on the road really knew what to expect. And to be honest, neither did I. All I knew is that there were 21 families and individuals out there who believed, like I did, that this story was worth telling. 11,000 miles, 40 days, 5 languages. Come chase one dream with me across the United States of Autism. I'm not sure how this happened, but the first 2 families I was going to see didn't speak English in their home as a first language. This first family had left an entire life behind in Puerto Rico to help their son, and I wasn't going to let a little English get in the way of that story.
Hey, how's everybody doing? Ah, how are you? That was good, that was good. Hi, Barbara, how are you? Hi. Mwah. Good. Hey, Eric, how are you, buddy? Thank you. Hey, Fabi, how are you? Mwah. Okay, we're going to ask you again if you're excited. You ready?
Yes.
Ready. All right.
Sí, hay muchos retos, especialmente en Puerto Rico. Cuando tienes un niño con condición especial como autismo, no hay buenos servicios allá para los niños con autismo. Nosotros tomamos la decisión de venir a Estados Unidos. Nos tomó mucho tiempo, valga la redundancia, decidir, porque mi esposo tenía un buen trabajo allá. Yo soy maestra en Puerto Rico. Básicamente es un poco frustrante porque hemos intentado muchas cosas con él, pero no hemos visto el resultado que quisiéramos. Y pues básicamente seguimos en la búsqueda de qué es lo que los va a ayudar y tratar de lograr lo mejor que podamos con él. Es difícil y sigue siendo difícil. De hecho, todos los días mis nenes dicen que quieren regresar a Puerto Rico. Incluso yo también a veces quisiera regresar.
Y es frustrante para mí como jefe de familias, porque sí en el caso de Eric, sí estoy complacido con los beneficios que hemos encontrado aquí en Estados Unidos, pero en mi caso no es solamente Eric, están Fabiola y Alexis, la familia, los niños. Nosotros, Fabiola, Eric, no pudimos ir ni a la graduación. O sea, nosotros no podemos ir juntos ni a la iglesia, ni al cine, ni a las tiendas, ni a los restaurantes a comer. Y la gente me decía que si yo estaba loco cuando iba a dejar el trabajo, porque eso era uno de los mejores trabajos que hay en Puerto Rico. O sea, y que si lo pensara bien, que si iba a vender la casa, que si estaba loco. Pues, fue una decisión difícil y todavía sigue siendo difícil, a pesar de que ya llevamos un poco más de 2 años aquí. Lo hicimos y aquí estamos, y no me arrepiento. Pero sí me da un poco de temor el futuro incierto que tengo. Le pido a Dios todos los días que encontremos algo o la manera en que Eric mejore.
Jing Young and Yun Tai were immigrants from Korea and China moving towards citizenship when this autism thing hit them out of the blue. I wondered how this thing affected their new American dream.
저는 이제 아들이 둘 있는데 하나는 엘빈이고 하나는 알렉스인데, 알렉스에 대해서 얘기하자면 엘빈은 굉장히 레이백하고 좀 게으르고, 엘빈 건강에 대해서 우선 말하자면 우선 경기가 있고 어티즘이 있는데, 경기가 2년 전에, 어티즘은 엘빈이 한 3살 때 경기가 일어났었는데, 그거는 제가 아는 경기가 아니라 굉장히 짧은 거, 한 2초에서 5초, 머리를 뒤로 잠깐 젖히거나 머리가 잠깐 드롭되거나 아니면 눈을 깜빡거리거나 아주 잠깐의 처음에 이제 의사를 만나고 약을 처방해 줬는데 그 약이 듣지 않았고 한 3개월 동안 4가지 약을 복용했는데 그 약 때문에 더 많은 경기가 일어났고 하루에도 정말 200번 정도 되는 뭐 눈 깜빡거리거나 뭐 고개가 뒤로 젖혀지거나 그런 걸 발견했었는데 의사를 만나러 가서 우선 약에 대해서 얘기를 했고 합의하에 키로제닉 다이어트 했는데 다행히도 다이어트가 굉장히 성공적이어서 한 사흘, 한 일주일 전으로 경기를 굉장히 조금밖에 뭐 거의 경기를 발견을 못해서 지금은 한 2년 동안 그렇게 다이어트를 하고 있습니다.
我在餐馆打工1个星期，每天12个小时，做6天这样。我在这个餐馆已经打工差不多11年这样，但是已经也是不能说是习惯打工在这里，但是也是说没有办法这样，家庭也是在这里，因为孩子也是这样，老婆也没有做工，所以说在餐馆就是这样打工下去，反正我也是来美国不是来上学，只是说赚钱这样，所以说现在来美国已经有家庭了，就是说打工这样，反正看看有什么机会能改变自己，反正就是目前是这样，一直打工下去这样。在家里就是说休息天在家里跟孩子玩呐，去带他们去游泳啊这样。这个是好像是在我当中是最快乐的这个事情，就是说休息天啦，每个礼拜就是盼那一天休息天，没有什么快乐，就是盼那个休息天，就是这样。
그리고 우선 미래에 대해서 바람은 온 가족 건강하고 행복하고 그리고 가족 간의 시간을 많이 보낼 수 있고 좀 정말 좋아지면 그리고 안전할 수 있으면 우리 엄마 아빠 손 꼭 잡고 준혁이 손 꼭 잡고 디즈니월드 가서 한 2박 3일 놀다 오면 좋을 것 같아요.
I had known the Corrado family for a number of years from their work in the local autism community, but I had never been to their house before. All I knew is that they had 3 boys at different levels on this autism spectrum, and what I really wanted to find is what specifically someone with autism had to say about everything.
Well, hello, Drew. How are you?
Very fun.
Very funny.
Come on in, Rich.
Okay, awesome. What am I walking into?
Chris and I got married about 15 years ago, and a long time ago. It seems like forever. And we had James soon after. Joel was born in May of '99. Drew was born in December of 2000. How can we understand what autism is unless somebody who has autism can explain it?
Now, I understand you became a self-advocate.
That's correct.
All right, so that just happened, right?
Yeah,
All right.
that's been in development for about a year now.
Okay, and so what are you going to be doing?
Basically talking to people, giving speeches and stuff to people who really don't know what autism is or are not very educated about it, and educate people about it. And also tell people a little bit about myself as well, like some of my interests and stuff,
Like what?
like NASCAR.
Oh, okay. So your whole family's in NASCAR, right?
Well, me and my brothers are anyway,
Yeah?
and my dad.
Well, who's your favorite driver?
Mine personally is Jeff Gordon.
Now, why Jeff Gordon?
Well, back in 2005, the movie Herbie Fully Loaded came out, and that's actually when I really started to get into it. And Jeff Gordon, in the NASCAR race, and the end of the movie finished second to Herbie, so that's when I really started following the sport. A year later, in February, I watched the 2006 Daytona 500 and been in love with the sport since.
It's terrible. Trust me, it's horrible with a capital H.
Now, why is that horrible?
Because it seems like my enemy. Well, my second enemy, but biggest enemy is my bad.
Okay. All right, well, tell me a little bit about why you think it's your biggest enemy.
secondary because it's kind of embarrassing, annoying. So if you don't have autism and if you're wondering what it is, it's your arch enemy.
Hey, how are you?
Fine.
Good. So, I understand that a lot of people say that you are on the autism spectrum. What do you think about that?
It's okay.
Yeah? Why is it okay?
Because it's fun.
Yeah? Why is it fun?
It just is. Sometimes I don't have reasons.
I'm a better person because of them. They have showed me what it's like to struggle in life. They have showed me what is important in life. They are the strongest people I know, and they have endured so much in their short lifespans already that they have endured so much in their life already that most people haven't done in their entire lives.
I had heard of Tim Welsh through Twitter, and from what I understand, he's one of the most influential tweeters out there on the subject of autism. And I also heard he had a profoundly affected son, and that is what interested me the most.
How are you?
Hey, great.
Good. Good
Great
to finally
meet you.
Yeah, absolutely. Is Sherry in?
Yeah, she's inside. Come on in.
All right, cool. Thanks.
Yeah, Tanner's regression went over a period of time. We had delayed his vaccinations for kindergarten because of some of the research that we had done at that point. But at that point, we believed the medical community this is the way to go, and we got about 5 vaccines in one day. And then over the next couple months, there was a steady regression to the point where he lost his language completely. And I remember the day Tanner walked in the living room at 9 a.m. on July 4th and said, "My name is Tanner, my name is Tanner," and that's the last time he spoke. There's an overwhelming sense of guilt and loneliness. At that time, I threw myself into my work. I was a manager of a department store, and it led to a stress level of such that I had 2 heart attacks at 38 and came within an hour of dying. And that kind of led for Sherry and I and Tanner to move back to the family farm area.
Everyone looked forward to us moving back. That was a great thing. But in contrast, when we showed up with Tanner, it was like, oh, what do we do now? You know, I thought when we moved back here that we would be here for my mom and dad as they age, and it has turned out that they are actually here for us. People are scared. You know, when you talk to he's now 12, and you interact with a 12-year-old, you expect something to come back out of him. There's no response, and people don't know how to deal with that.
People actually think he's contagious. I mean, people think that they're going to catch something from him.
He's not potty trained. He's lost his sensory issues with his toileting. So a lot of times when you walk into Tanner's bedroom, his top drawer of his dresser will be open, and that's where his pull-ups are stored. So that to me indicates I need to go, to the restroom.
And just as I threw myself into work when we were in Minneapolis, I've kind of thrown myself into Twitter, as that's my release as far as getting out and getting a little bit of exposure and feel like I'm accomplishing something as far as unity within the autism community, saying that our vote together can be meaningful. So I feel like I'm not an expert in any of these subjects, but I can be an aggregator and bring forth some of the things that are happening. When children are running away and dying because of their autism, that should be front page news. You don't wake up one day and magically have residential facilities, therapists, service personnel that this community is going to need in the next few years. And so we really need people to understand it's time to interact with the people dealing with autism.
As far as I knew, there had never been an everyday African-American family featured in anything having to do with autism, and that needed to be changed. But more than that, I wanted to know what made this woman strike fear into the school systems around Chicago. I had a feeling there were some tales and tears in this story.
Hey, Lorette, how are you?
Good.
Hey, guys.
Welcome.
Thank you. How are you doing?
Yeah, welcome to my world of autism.
All right.
My 4 beautiful children. Let's see. Deanna Renee Tolliver is 21. I'm very proud of her. She's going to school in Chicago. Next in order would be Karel. He's a skater. He loves the skateboard. That frees him. And then there's Kiera. She's a cheerleader. She's a great cheerleader. She has a big heart. She's the caretaker. She tries to take care of me. When I had the twins, there was a difficulty with the pregnancy. I wound up going on bed rest. Demi started to show signs of autism really early, textbook. Demi is not only autistic, he has seizures, and he's also FTT, which is failure to thrive, which he has a feeding tube. He's getting feeding now, and to help him maintain a reasonable weight. I tell them all the time that we would not be where we are with Demi if it wasn't for them and their involvement, their commitment and their sacrifices, and understanding that just because Demi needed the most, it didn't mean Demi was loved the most. When you're working with autism, all it takes is love. And that's why I really don't, I think, fit in with groups when I see parents go, oh, woe is me. My poor child, my poor marriage is being destroyed. You stay in your child's world. It's not about you. It's about him or her, especially the girls who wind up being more severe than the boys. Just be patient. So what? Your husband doesn't understand. F him. Your child needs you. He's a grown-ass man.
In coming to the great state of Iowa, I knew I would run into people who are much more politically active, but I hadn't realized until I was out the door what it would really be like to meet someone who has shaken hands and spoken about autism with nearly every presidential candidate the last few elections.
All right.
Glad to meet you.
Well, yes, definitely. Finally in person.
Finally in person.
Great.
Would you come in?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Thank you.
Sam is 8. He was diagnosed with autism at the age of 26 months. He is a prime example of regressive autism. He lost his language. He became unresponsive, disconnected. We didn't know what it was called then, but he stimmed a lot, bouncing balls across the linoleum for hours at a time, watching balls spin. Yeah, he was just he was there, but he wasn't there. Mainstream medicine, all they were doing for us, he was 4, and we were begging them for help because he was having trouble at school, and they wrote us a prescription for Prozac. He's 4. He loves to explore and play out his superhero battles along the way, and you don't have to worry about knowing nothing because he'll tell you. He'll tell you what to do, when you need to do it, how to do it, and yep.
Red Boy. Oh, Red Boy, who's the brother of Dark Boy.
No, not the brother of Dark Boy. Iron Boy has 2 brothers.
Okay, so his brothers are Red Boy, and who's the other brother?
Gold Boy.
Thank you. That makes it all clear now. Okay.
That makes the brother thing all clear. Now, where are we in the Jenny talk?
I believe that Sam's autism was caused by mercury in vaccines. Our Congress has a history of ignoring things until they blow up in their faces and they absolutely have no choice. And I think autism is very similar to that. And now that they're desperately needing extra services and more help, there's just not the funding. My personal belief, I don't think that our Congress will ever come out and say vaccines attributed to the rise and autism. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong.
Now, many of the people I had seen so far were children with autism, and all boys at that. And with that in mind, I was about to meet a woman on the spectrum who had been at the White House on numerous occasions to talk about autism and the future.
I am the executive director for the Autism Women's Network. The group of women, those of us who started the Autism Women's Network, the entire board of directors, we're all on the spectrum. I find myself wanting to bring some healing to the autism community because I do not believe that we can go forward the way it is right now. But I have a son who struggles and is in the hospital right now. If I could take away some of the challenges that he has, if someone told me tomorrow, you can snap your fingers and the challenges that come along with autism could be taken away from him, I'd do it in a second. Do I call it a cure? No. Some parents, some advocates may.
I feel like autism is probably close, depending on what level or how functioning you are, it can be one of the most challenging disabilities to live with. I think me and my mom are lucky because we have Asperger's, which is the highest functioning form of autism that I know of. I realize that for parents who are parenting children with autism, I know it's hard. It can be hard because it's harder to read your kids or know what they're thinking or know how to communicate with them. It's harder to do all those things than it is with most people who are normal and don't have Asperger's syndrome. But there's no way that it's right to try to cure autism because without autism, you're not even you anymore. I don't think a cure is necessary. I think you need to just learn from it, learn about it, and do the best you can to make the best of your disability and turn it into more of an ability.
He's really smart. He's a smart person, and he helps me a lot in school because he's a lot smarter school-wise than me, in math, really. So he helps me a lot with algebra and everything. And he's a really good older brother, and I look up to him a lot. He likes to draw a lot and write poems, and he's just a really cool person.
All of these children are growing up and they're going to be adults. The Aspies need employers to welcome advocates into their human resources department to help them understand that the interview process may be difficult, but if you give someone a chance who is brilliant, a tech guru, brilliant in some way, your company's going to be better for it. Now these kids, are grown. They're not going to be kids forever, and it's time for our country to take this seriously.
Well, right around Salt Lake City is the heart of Mormon country. Now, I had heard of Mormons before, mostly from South Park and Proposition 8 stuff in the media, but I was never really one to believe anything the media tried to sell me. I was looking forward to actually seeing things for myself.
Hi, Kayla.
Hi, Rich.
How are you?
I'm good.
About 2 years ago, Parker was diagnosed with autism. It was 2 years and 6 days exactly. He was always kind of slow, delayed, a little bit behind. I had done research on autism. I thought I had done research on autism, and what I had heard was the kids that flap, the kids that rock in corners, and Parker didn't fit those profiles. But Parker, he's a lovable little boy. He's a sweet kid. You guys have seen what a friendly child he is. He loves to dance. He loves people. Yeah, he's just got to work a little harder at things than the rest of us. And so, people say, well, you couldn't have known, it's not your fault. But no matter how much people tell me that, I don't think I'm going to believe that. Deep down, I believe that I somehow did this to him. And we're working on it. I keep thinking I need to learn how to manage my stress, and it's not working.
And also, the difficult thing, too, is with him needing so much attention, Evelyn hasn't been able to work, and so we're just a one-income family, and so that makes it
tight.
Financially tight as well when you're living off one income.
In some ways, I want to be like Parker, so I have autism so I can be with him. But in some ways, Parker, he wants to be normal with me, so it's not easy, really.
If there was a magic pill that Parker could take, I would give
We'd
it to
all
him
do
in
it.
a second without even thinking
If
about it.
there's a cure, yeah.
The autism isn't making him happy, it's kind of making him miserable in that effect. He's trying to communicate and tell us something that he can't.
For me, it's, I think a lot of people look at Mormonism as a religion versus my faith. My faith plays a huge role in my life. The fact that I'm a Mormon does not.
We believe that all children are God's children and that they can all have a place within our church. I think God tests our faith to help us realize the potential that we have within us. Without some of these challenges, we probably would just think life's a breeze, but we're not here to take and just sit by the wayside. We need challenges to keep us going forward and working our way back home.
I had heard of dads like J.P. Kianzon changing overnight for their kids, and as someone whose real father had checked out years ago, I looked forward to seeing if there really was time to change the road you're on.
Oh, cool, thanks. Hi, my name's Rich. Hey, how are you?
Hey, what's your name?
My name's Rich, how are you?
The very first time that I met her was at her house, but I was with my girlfriend at the time. So yeah, we've been married almost 11 years now. Yeah. And I always knew she was the one from the beginning. So that's how. Moses is obviously the big brother. He's 6 years old. He's such a good boy. His viewpoint on autism is that his brother just doesn't talk that much. Now Jacob is the 3-year-old. He's the baby. He's the bully.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Yeah, he's wild. He likes to make the other guys cry. Noah was diagnosed with moderate autism in May of 2008.
It was hard. It was an emotional roller coaster for me, a lot of downs. Now I think of it as he's a gift. He's teaching us so many new things now. It's just a different life. It's just a different life. And it doesn't mean it's a bad one.
I've been one of the lead singers in a reggae band from San Francisco called Native Elements. And been with them for about 13 years. And it was that was one of my biggest dreams, was to make it, to be a star and all these things. When my son was diagnosed with autism, I can honestly say that I actually thought of leaving the band. That was how devastating a blow it was. And now the band is actually a way for me to help raise awareness. I used to be probably one of the most materialistic people you could ever know. And that's kind of how I've been my whole life. So
Before kids, we
oh
would
my
go to the
God.
mall.
We'd go to the mall and look at all the stuff. And, oh yeah.
So it's amazing for me to see him transform into this new person, because he was a materialistic person. I mean, that doesn't mean he was bad. He was a nice person, but
Yeah.
he loved looking at things and used that as a motivation to work more so he can buy those things. But now it's like he's looking at his stuff, wanting to sell them, and said, oh, okay, we can maybe use that money for Noah's treatment here or Noah's therapy over here.
Yeah.
So I'm like, wow.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
It was a tragedy. That was my initial thought. Autism is a tragedy. But now I see it as like a gift. He's such a pure child, and he's just him by himself, he's changed me and my wife, and it's amazing.
Do you remember the way you and I got together? Do you, baby? 'Cause
Here in LA, I was about to meet one of the youngest sibling advocates I had ever heard of, and it was a trip that would take me to Beverly Hills, Hollywood, and everything in between.
Hello.
Hi, Rich.
Hi, Carrie.
Hi.
Hi,
How are
Rich.
you?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Great. You guys ready?
Yeah, come on in.
All right.
Well, Tony, we knew from when he was little something was different just because he would not look people in the eye. He would not talk to strangers. He would totally shut down. Never suspected autism at all. Because he talked. You know, we had gone to the psychologist and he had said he's really extremely bright. Eventually I pulled him out of school and homeschooled him by myself, and that's when we saw the turnaround. I think Tony he has so much potential, but other people don't see. And we went from a kid who was 1 year old and would make baskets and be like, yeah, baby, to a child who, you know, was not the same anymore.
I think the kid that had the hardest problem adjusting to Tony getting a lot of the attention was Emily. The other two, Michael and Caitlin, they're pretty self-sustained.
Tony doesn't like we cut each other. She doesn't. He Caitlin. Me and Tony are
Lemonade for Autism came from Emily when she was like 5 years old. She came up one day and she had said, I want to do a lemonade stand, I want to do a lemonade stand. And I said, okay, well that's fine, but I want you to give it to charity.
We all just kind of pitch in, peel lemons for days, and
yeah. Emily, I think she's learning to give back, you know, and also that she's met a lot of autistic people through this, and she's seen like severe autism, and she knows she's helping them in the littlest way, even though she's just, you know, 10 years old, that it's okay. She can do something to help her brother. She can help, you know, others.
the easiest way to deal with a child with Asperger's is just let them be them. Accept them for who they are and love them. I wouldn't take away Tony's autism. It makes Tony Tony.
The last couple of weeks have all been traveled in the same direction, with the sun sinking on the horizon in front of me in hues of purples, golds, and reds every night. Perhaps it was the shaman magic I saw behind those desert mountains that urged me to capture this moment in time, but whatever the case, the open road and a wish still called to me, and so it was with joy and sadness I took my first steps back towards home. Now, the Roadies were well known in the autism community for their battle with the Oklahoma government to bring insurance coverage to those with autism. And I know people who carry around scars like that are worth listening
Wayne
to.
Roadie.
Rich, good to finally meet you.
Good to finally meet you too.
How's everybody doing?
We're doing great.
Good,
We're
good.
anxious to see you.
Awesome.
Come on in.
All right, thanks.
I think, Rich, one of the problems that
a lot of families have to deal with when they're dealing with siblings, and you're starting to see some studies being conducted now, is what happens with the siblings. And it concerns me that the other kids are ignored. Austin is a godsend to us, though.
He's a blessing. You
Yeah.
could not, and I've told him this, I said, if I placed an order and I said, God, this is just who I want for a son, I couldn't have gotten a better one.
The main thing is usually Nicholas will be in bed and I'll keep rewinding his movie, the part that he likes, like Lady in a Tramp with the alligator, trying to get Lady in a Tramp. He always likes that, so I rewind that, and then he'll laugh at that, and I continue rewinding it again and again, and he'll non-stop laugh until he gets tired.
Nick's Law is insurance coverage for autism, for the medically necessary treatments and therapies for our children. And it's some legislation that we wrote 3 years ago with the help of Senator J. Paul Gum. And we've been trying to pass the legislation at the Capitol, state capital of Oklahoma, and for the last 3 years, unsuccessfully. Nick's Law actually is a very fiscally conservative approach to health care. Yet for me personally, and I know Robin, we've been going back and forth about whether we should be registered Republicans. My thinking is this: I'm not going to leave my party just because our state has gone in a different direction. I still believe in conservative values. How can you be against taking care of special needs kids and be pro-life? It's like, well, we'll take care of you up until the day you're born, and then you're on your own. That's wrong.
We had a death threat against our family and against Nicholas and Austin, but